Welcome to the arcade, I'm Sleepless Night, and today I'm just going to give you a quick and dirty update on what's coming to Jump Space in the first major content update, which should be dropping Yeah, okay, we don't exactly know when this is coming, partly because Keepsake themselves don't know exactly when it's coming. It should be no secret to those following the game, and nothing new at all to those playing on Xbox, that there are still some issues, which I'll talk about at the end of the video. All we know is that they are pushing these updates out for the experimental branch sometime before the end of October, so that they can work out most of the bugs before letting the rest of us have it sometime after that. I would imagine within the next month to 6 weeks, but that's just speculation on my part based on reading between the lines of what Keepsake are saying, so don't quote me. What the devs have talked about though is what this update will contain, and that starts with melee weapons. The two melee weapons coming in the update will be a crowbar and a wrench, both of which were shown briefly in the latest dev Q&A, and the surprising thing about these, especially if you're a fan of physics, is that they will have some blocking capability. Apparently, holding block will absorb roughly 50% of the incoming damage for a time, and although you will also notice that timing this right is actually deflecting some of the incoming fire back towards the enemies, they were keen to point out that deflection is not something you'll be able to do with these two melee weapons, but rather something they are currently testing for a future weapon. So, I don't want to say lightsabers, but I don't know, maybe some sort of Mass Effect style Omniblade type thing. I have no idea, honestly. The crowbar and the wrench are more than just simple whack-a-mole weapons though. There is some variation in the strength of the attacks, depending on which strike in a movement combination you manage to land at which time. Koulianos added that he sees this as the start of something bigger, with these first melee weapons being more fun and perhaps leading to other melee weapons which will offer a more serious combat choice alongside the array of projectile weapons that we currently have. Perhaps the biggest thing coming to the first content update though will be Hangar vendors. This is one of the biggest changes to the game since the demo back in June, and will mean that on top of the weapons you can find throughout the various missions, you will now have the option to buy certain weapons before heading out. So, if there is a weapon you particularly love that you always have to depend on finding in order to use, then you will now be able to buy it if you have the credits for it, and they are apparently quite expensive, but that shouldn't be a problem for those who've been playing non-stop since release with nothing to spend their credits on until now. Keeping hold of your favourite weapons has been one of the most requested features during the game's development, and this is the first step towards appeasing those, like myself, who find a weapon they like and want to stick with it. The other thing that vendors will sell are mission preparation items, such as ship repair kits and artifacts, or materia containers, or ammo, or med kits. All of those credits you've had building up which have been useless until now, this is what they're for. And if you're thinking, I know what I'm doing in this game, what do I need preparation items for? That neatly leads to the next item in the content update, which is sector modifiers. These have been talked about for a while, and they are events in addition to what is already happening in the mission, which will alter how a certain sector plays and how you approach that sector or your route through the mission. Keepsake stressed that these visuals are not finalized, so this is not what these modifiers will eventually look like on the mission map, but you can see just a couple of examples on the map as it stands, and many of them have positive and negative impacts which you will have to weigh when deciding which routes to take. One of the examples shows that a specific sector is rich in materia clouds, but that sector also contains an ion rift, which will mess with your power grid and mean either juggling the engineering panel around or simply having to make do without certain things during your time in that sector. This is, again, just the first step on the road of sector modifiers. More will come as the game evolves, and ways to get an idea of what kind of modifiers you are likely to see based on mission type may eventually be visible, at least to some extent, on the galaxy map in the Hangar. But that won't come in this update. This update will just have a handful of different modifiers. It will also have several completely new sectors for you to play through, all coming in this first major content update. One of the things that is not on the content update list, but will be in the first content update, is a much requested improvement to the Dart. Those of you who have used this ship will know that while fast and maneuverable and small enough for a smaller crew or a lone pilot to get around in, ingress and egress are a major headache with this ship, since it has very few access points and no mag walks like the Catamaran does. Keepsake have heard your complaints and are pushing out a temporary fix for this issue. That is, the fix is permanent, but they haven't yet polished it, so the Dart now has an access hatch which will allow you to get in and out from the top of the ship. This, sadly, is the only thing currently that breaks the seamless movement in and out of ships that Jump Space does so well, and the devs are aware of that and are working on it, but wanted to get this fix out to you so that the Dart feels usable. So at the moment, this particular hatch has no animation, and as such basically just appears to teleport you to the outside of the ship when used. This will change in the future to be a bit more like the rest of the ingress and egress points, but for now, it is what it is. Now, those of you who have heard me talk a lot about this game might be wondering why you haven't seen us playing it more on the channel yet, and there are two reasons for that. The first is that I am currently working on so many projects at the same time I would need to make a separate hour-long video to even scratch the surface. But the second reason is the Xbox. Specifically, the Xbox Series S. Yes, I know. If you're an Xbox fan, you already know that it appears the golden age of Xbox might be over, and many of us have spent a lot of the last 12 months or so just crying in a corner that our once beloved console is no longer the competitor it almost looked like it might be for those fleeting couple of days somewhere between a Tuesday afternoon and a Friday morning sometime in 2025. But the hits just keep on coming. I am actually a PC player and an Xbox player. I preferred the simplicity and, until this last 12 months at least, the value for money that the console offered. The arcade's multiplayer group, the Deadweights, originally played the demo on PC, but one of our number has no PC, so we all opted to buy the game for Xbox so that all of us could play at once. Unfortunately, two of the Deadweights have Series S consoles, and the memory leak problems, particularly on the Series S, are meaning that most players can rarely finish an entire mission. So until that is fixed, for sure, this time, we have shelved the game to concentrate on other releases. Now, Keepsake Games seem like decent, down-to-earth guys who cannot stop apologizing for how this has worked out, and are working very hard to fix these issues. I have no doubt at all that they will sort this out, and they seem genuinely upset with themselves over having let Xbox players down on this issue. I was offered a key for Jump Space and refused it because I believe in these devs. I want to support them, and the game was so cheap, I just wanted to put money in their pockets so they could keep working on it and developing it. However, there are games looming on the horizon for Xbox players which might well take a lot of attention away from Jump Space if this sort of thing is not fixed before those games are released. The Outer Worlds 2 is just one such title that springs to mind, and even though this is just one example, those who are teetering on the fence of cancelling their Game Pass subscription but are holding on to it until games like The Outer Worlds are released may well not return to Jump Space for a while if it gets lost in all the noise of upcoming releases. So, fingers crossed, there is a solution on the horizon for Series S jump space players. Anyway, those are the coming features in the first Jump Space content update. I will try to let you know more as soon as there is more to know. But until next time, from the arcade, this is Sleepless Night, saying nighty-night.